The Suspension Secrets Porsche GT Circuit Handling Pack has been designed and developed to make the Porsche GT cars perform even better when out on track, and also improve the handling characteristics in a few different ways. We decided to design the Circuit Handling Pack based on the testing that we were doing at track with multiple different Porsche GT chassis. We went out on circuit and we set up a few different cars, and we spent a few days with the same cars and the same drivers developing our setups using the standard suspension components that are adjustable on the Porsche GT cars. We then reached a point where we'd adjusted to the end of the adjustment range of the standard suspension, and we just hit the end of the curve of improvement. So we got to a point where the change we were making were becoming negligible right at the top, and we couldn't get any more out of the standard suspension on the car. We then made the decision to work in conjunction with Leyton Clarke, who owns RMA Track Days and owns this Porsche GT3RS Weissach behind me, and we developed our circuit handling pack with him, and we knew there was more potential within the chassis itself, so we started testing by increasing those geometry changes by inserting different components and making different items that would increase certain aspects of the geometry. And we tested it out on circuit until we honed in on the perfect geometry changes to be applied using this kit. When the kit was installed, we then went out and we tested and collected data, and we found great improvements over the standard suspension, which was maximised, versus our kit, which is then maximised. Our kit increases caster, which is otherwise not adjustable as standard on the car, and it increases camber past where it is adjustable as standard. So we're able to achieve much more aggressive geometry, and also geometry that changes how the car behaves out on circuit. Not just it gives more grip, it also changes the base characteristics of the vehicle. The extra caster effectively gives more camber gain as you turn the steering wheel. That's one of the benefits. So as you're rotating the steering wheel, the outside wheel is gaining in camber as well. This means that you can achieve more camber through the corner without having to run it statically in a straight line. So you can set slightly less negative camber than you otherwise would. And that means you get more traction under braking because the tyre is flatter than a more aggressive negative camber setup at the front. But as you go through the corner, the caster gives that camber to lean onto, so you benefit from both worlds, having more negative camber through the corner and less in a straight line. So better braking traction, more braking force, better cornering force, more cornering speeds. When we lowered the car, we run more aggressive rake angle on the chassis, which gets the nose much more pointy and reduces understeer substantially. On the standard suspension, if you go too far with the rake angle, you can end up with quite a light rear end on the car, which can feel quite nervous and unsettled, especially under heavy braking and initial turning on the corner. Therefore, we installed a stiffer front spring. This kept the nose up under braking, so we could run the aggressive rake angle, but under really aggressive braking, it prevents the nose from compressing too much and keeps the back more planted. So you can get more braking traction, and you can also carry more speed into the corner with the back planted down, so you're not going to oversteer quite as much as if you had the stock suspension system. Some of the key areas that we saw in terms of performance improvements were the cornering forces, so the lateral G and the longitudinal G, which is the forces under braking. So with the kit fitted compared to not having it fitted but maximised on the standard suspension, we saw an average of 0.2 G increase in lateral load. So that's an extra 0.2 G through the corner of lateral grip, which means we're cornering at a much higher speed than before. We achieved up to 12 miles an hour apex speeds more with the handling pack fitted, which is a massive increase over the standard suspension. We also saw that under braking, we were getting up to 0.3 to 0.4 G extra compared to not having the kit fitted to having the kit fitted. This data was also collected on the Michelin Cup 2 tyre. So when we moved to the Cup R tyre, we also saw even bigger improvements due to the ability of the tyre being able to take even more grip through it. So we were able to push the car even harder on that compound. And this has been cross-checked against a few of the kits on the market currently, with some RMA Track Day members who we see regularly. So we're able to take that data from their cars, and we saw an average of 0.2 G increase through the corners even with those drivers, and also 0.3 G increase under braking from those drivers on average as well. This increase under braking is again due to the front spring keeping the rear pinned, which means that more braking force is being put through the bigger rear tyre, and that means that under really hard braking the car is more stable, which means that the car can be braked later, harder and more aggressively, hence even more force is being put through in terms of the longitudinal G. This also means that we're entering the corner at a higher speed, we're braking later, braking harder, and then lifting off sooner because we're coming into the corner and being able to carry even more pace onto the apex because the chassis has now got even more grip thanks to the additional camber and the additional caster and the reduced bump steer. So this combination of geometry improvements means that the car can travel at a higher speed through the corner, pulling that extra lateral G, and also working in harmony with the improved braking to make an overall faster lap time. We achieved an overall faster lap time of 2 seconds on average around Donington Park, and that was versus the standard car with a maximum setup versus our kit installed and set up by us. Around Silverstone, that was moved on to a 3-second improvement. That was due to the circuit being a bit longer and higher speed, so the apex speeds were even faster. One of the key design requirements when we were developing this kit was to ensure that the kit was still usable on the road. We were making the kit to amplify the performance of the car when used on circuit, but we didn't want to impede too heavily on the road use of the vehicle. So we made sure that the kit can be used on road tours and driven quickly on fast road use, but also that when you take it to the circuit, it amplifies the handling of the car out on track and really gives you more from the chassis. To certify this, we wanted to take it over to the Nürburgring Nordschleife, which we did with Leyton at the wheel, and we pushed the car hard in its circuit racing guise in the very low ride height position, very aggressive, and we took it around the ring set like that to ensure that even in its most aggressive positioning, it could still be used at pace on something that resembled very fast road use, such as the Nürburgring. We also achieved a time of 6 minutes 53 seconds bridge to gantry around the Nürburgring, which we were very pleased with, and we're also very pleased with the behaviour of the vehicle and how it performed and responded and gave stability and confidence to Leyton as a driver around the Nürburgring, even in that aggressive UK circuit setup.